This is the result of James Cameron taking the most transparent parts of preceding Oscar-winning films, sticking them into a blender, and pouring the resulting cliché milkshake onto film.
Blue milk? Blue milk.
Blue milk. The implications of blue milk are just killing me.
I broke Andrew with that one.
I've seen less predictable episodes of The Brady Bunch. Avoid if you have a semblance of intelligence and expect artists to be creative.
Well,
I mean, but what if artists want to make money?
That was a 1-star review from IMDb. Hello and welcome to Spoilers Intended, a podcast about series and films. I'm Ryan, joined as always by Andrew.
Hello.
And Steven.
He's still dying over there.
Blue Milk Steven.
No, do not put that evil on me.
We're going to get a t-shirt made
Do
on the merch
not
store.
put that
Blue
evil
Milk
on me.
Steven. In case you can't tell, in this episode, we're reviewing James Cameron's record-breaking sci-fi epic, Avatar.
Oh, man.
Blue milk and all.
Oh, from 2009.
Yes. But before we get to that, we're going to discuss our thoughts on we're picking our favorite movie that was the highest grossing movie the year it came out. So obviously Avatar broke all sorts of records.
It did.
Yeah. So we're looking throughout, the years, at least from like the mid 70s on when they started keeping track of it.
Yeah.
What is our favorite movie that was the highest grossing film of that year?
Yeah.
So Steven, do you want to lead off?
Sure.
Yeah, I want to hear Stevens.
All right, well, you know what? 'Tis the season. I am going with 1990s Home Alone.
Ooh, good choice.
Oh, yeah, that's a good choice.
Yeah.
It's still wild to me that this movie made this much money.
It
Oh,
always
yeah.
impresses me just looking through that list when you'd be like, it's a Christmas movie. Like, man, that made a lot of money. Like, what else came out that year that it just crushed it, right?
Well, I think,
didn't-
too, Home Alone was a phenomenon, though.
It was.
It was. I mean, Macaulay Culkin was just immediately launched to stardom.
Yeah.
Well, and you think before that, because that was 1990, in the 80s, there were some kids' movies like The Goonies and stuff, but
Mhm.
there wasn't like a singular,
Like kid actor.
yeah, like Home Alone started a trend
Like-
where then like they had all sorts of movies afterwards in the 90s, like Dennis
Yeah.
the Menace and
Like you had like Matthew
Richie Rich.
Broderick, which was but
Yeah.
he was more of like a teenager.
Teenage, yeah. I feel like the 80s, Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller, it was
Yeah.
teenager-centric, not really kid-centric. The
Yeah.
Goonies
Right.
is probably
About as centric.
closest.
Short Round and
Yeah.
Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
I
Well,
guess.
in 1990, I think was Rescuers Down Under, if I remember correctly. I'll look that
Ooh,
up.
that might have been
90 or
92.
91, somewhere in there.
Well, either way, I mean, this, one, a killer cast, right? So we got, Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci, Daniel Stern, just
Yeah.
killing it on screen. I think the big thing there is just the chemistry within our Wet Bandits is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. The
Yes.
casting of those two guys and the way they work
Just
together.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, you can't beat it. And Joe Pesci especially.
Haha, I was right. Rescuers Down Under, 1990.
Hey, there it
Nice.
is.
Hey, well.
Yeah, I got it right that time.
Put that on your bingo cards,
Yeah.
everybody.
That's it's a
There's
rare
also
one.
Rocky 5.
I don't
Ugh.
care. Don't care.
We don't talk
Oh,
about
I
Rocky.
don't know about that.
Ernest Goes to Jail and Total Recall.
Oh, really?
Whoa. It beat out Total Recall.
It did.
Well, I
beat
guess
out
Total Recall is probably rated R. It definitely was rated. It's
It
a Paul
definitely was
Verhoeven
rated R.
movie. It's
It's
rated
definitely
R.
rated
It's a
R.
hard
Rated
R.
R.
It's a hard R.
Sorry, continue.
But yeah, I mean, the comedy in it is great.
Yeah.
And watching it now, 32 years later now.
It's still good.
It's still good. The heart is still there.
Mhm.
It's got the
Mhm.
kind of the sweet and sappy, Christmas story, along with just this absolute bonkers shenanigans of not just the booby traps and all that, which is I think what a lot of people really focus on, but also just a kid surviving in what was then the modern era.
Yeah.
And just the circumstances and everything that goes around to make it happen. I don't know, man. This is one of those movies where I watch it probably every Christmas,
Oh, yeah.
and it doesn't get bad, right? It never, and it still hits. Like the emotional hits still
The
come in on
music is
that.
really good, too.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
the Carol the Bells bit,
Mhm.
dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun. Yeah, it's just amazing me looking through that list. Like, oh, there's Home Alone.
As a kid watching it, like your mind just goes wild with what kind of traps could I make.
Yeah.
You know, you start looking around your house at everything.
So it's.
I got a good one. Hold on.
Oh.
I got a good one for you. I got to call out my wife on this.
oh God,
They referenced Micro Machines,
Uh-huh.
right? And she was like, "So could they just not get like Hot Wheels as a brand name or something? So they just made something else?" Like, nope. No, Micro Machines are a real
Micro Machines
thing.
are a real thing.
I had
Oh.
a ton of Micro Machines.
I had
and they
so
were,
many Micro Machines.
if you left them on the floor, they were deadly.
Yeah.
Oh man, I had so many
I
Micro Machines.
lost a lot of
They're
them.
like
'cause so
Legos
small.
that could slide.
They're so tiny.
I had a lot of the Star Wars Micro Machines.
I have a bunch of those.
Yeah. So I think one of my, they're like, you always have like Joe Pesci and obviously Macaulay Culkin. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
those are like the, like the core of the film because like they're, obviously the main characters pretty much.
yeah.
I love his parents.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
Catherine
Catherine
O'Hara.
O'Hara.
Catherine O'Hara
and John
kills it in
Hurd.
everything she's in. though.
Dude,
She's
Yeah,
such a
she
good job.
does.
And that moment of realization when she's on the plane is just, it's great.
yeah.
Well, also Uncle Frank, where he's just like, well, it makes you feel any better. I forgot my reading glasses. Are these real crystals? They're real crystals. Put them in the bag. Put them in the bag. Oh, yes, please. Fill
Yeah.
them all the way up top. Like he's such a perfect character.
He's such
Yeah.
a yeah.
Yeah, especially in the old man, who
Old Man
is,
Marley?
not Uncle Frank,
It's Old Man Marley.
Old Man Marley.
Yeah,
The neighbor that shovels the snow.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And is estranged from his son, and then has that very emotional reunion, and you're just like, yes.
Yeah. Well, like the conversation in the church where it's kind of like
it's
you have like the old man wisdom, but you
Mhm.
also get that like simple truth from a child kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like, like that hit that's the part to me. And then also the reunion at the end.
Yeah.
Not Kevin's parents, but his reunion that really hits me every time.
mhm.
Well, and the writing for Macaulay Culkin, like whoever wrote Home Alone knew how to write how a child would speak.
Would talk.
Yeah.
Because you have
Yeah.
those moments where you're like, a kid wouldn't be that smart, but the kind of lines that he says are just such simple, basic kid logic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
it's great.
So there's a whole small documentary
Mhm.
about the fake movie, the fake gangster movie that they have
Oh,
in
and
the
yeah.
the
film.
fact they had to film a movie to put in their movie.
Yeah, and the whole thing is that there's still like a lot of like people like kind of the Berenstain Bears,
Mhm.
where they have like this thing where like, oh, I remember watching that movie. It's like, no, you don't. It doesn't exist.
doesn't
It's
exist,
not
yeah.
real.
But they
Keep
did such
the
a good
change,
job
yeah.
Keep the
at
change, you
animal.
filthy animal.
and that line has permeated through so many different films over
Mhm.
the years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just everything about it. The stupid lawn jockey that the pizza man always hits. And just the running gag with that, where like it's like the airline people here to pick him up in the morning. You see the one dude standing it back up.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's one of those movies where, again, I just looking at it and seeing it as top grossing for 1990. I don't understand how,
Yeah.
but also, man, what a great movie.
Well, I think movies like that used to be able to be the top grossing movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, whereas now it's like, which CG Marvel characters in it? And it's like, no, you don't have to have that. Like,
Mhm.
you could have just a Macaulay Culkin adventure with Joe Pesci where he literally would have killed them in real life,
Yeah.
like, rockets to success.
Yeah.
Andrew, what about you?
So I had so many different options here.
Oh, yeah.
So I initially thought I was going to go with 2005, which was Revenge of the Sith,
Mm-hmm.
which I love that film, but I wouldn't consider it my favorite on the list. So I am going all the way back to 1985, Back to the Future.
Gotta go back in time and steal Ryan's answer.
I was looking directly at you when I, said
almost,
that.
I almost did Back to the Future. I was looking at it.
I got plenty of alternates. Go ahead.
I absolutely love this film and the franchise. Actually,
Fantastic.
I love all three films. I
Yeah.
actually really, I think 2 is probably my favorite, only
Mm-hmm.
because of the ending of the film, which is just phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Right, yeah.
But the first one definitely has probably the best arc for kind of everyone, obviously, because this was before
Yeah.
they started kind of like rehashing the same
Well, I
story.
think it tells the most complete
It does.
story.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely the one
The-
I've seen the most, probably.
You have just so many like fun little moments and characters. The time travel's fantastic. The DeLorean's great.
Oh, it's amazing.
Classic design.
And
Yeah.
it cannot be understated how huge this movie was when it came out. Like, I watched it so many times as a kid. Like, every frame of it. Like, the opening when he has the giant wall that's a speaker.
all
that's
the
like
speaker, yeah.
Oh,
totally not
yeah.
a thing that would ever be able to exist.
Well, and you have obviously Michael J. Fox
Yeah.
at his like peak
Peak Fox.
Fox, and then
Yeah.
you have Christopher Lloyd as Emmett Brown.
Just nailing
just
it.
nailing it.
Just nailing it.
Mhm.
Biff.
Oh
Fantastic.
yeah.
His
Hello,
dad.
McFly. Anyone in there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Hello.
his dad was
Crispin
also
Glover.
just great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Leah Thompson is Lorraine.
Yeah. I remember like it being so awkward that his mom is hitting on him. And it being a kid and being like, this is so weird.
Well,
Calvin.
how do you think Marty felt? Ugh.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah,
Um,
there's just so many like this was just lightning in a bottle
oh yeah.
Oh,
for
yeah.
for just launching a franchise that just has like captured the hearts of so many people.
Yeah.
And it's definitely one of those films where like if anyone's like, hey, let's just throw this on, we'll watch it.
Yeah, no,
100%.
who says no to let's throw Back to the Future on? Nobody
Yeah.
says no.
So
Psychopath.
So one of my really good friends, every year he throws a back to 2015 because in the film, whenever they go to the
I gotta say, man, filmmakers in the 70s and 80s had some ambition for the years 2000 and 2010, 2015,
yeah,
and they were way ahead of their time.
but yeah, so the way he has it set up is whenever he basically plays all the films all back to back, and he has a special cut that he has made to where he knows the second that he hits play, whenever they get in the second movie, right at the beginning of the film, whenever they go to the future, and Emmett Brown is like, it's October 15th, at 4:20 p.m.
8:20 p.m. Yeah.
2015, it hits right when like that is the time that it hits.
Yeah.
Every single time. And he has strobe lights and like flashing lights every time they go into go through time and everything. It's just a whole experience. And
it's a wild ride.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, he does it every year.
Hey,
Crazy.
It is his favorite film.
when you know it's your thing, stay with it, man.
Yeah. All right, Ryan, I stole yours.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 1989's Batman.
Oh,
This is
man.
another one of those movies that, like, when it came out, like, it was everywhere. Like, I had Batman lunchbox, I had the Batman poster on the wall. We had the ability when I was in school, you could bring a movie to school to like play for everyone. You know, we'd watch it in like the little in between class stuff. This is like first grade,
Yeah.
and I didn't know that Batman was rated R, and so I brought it, and I was like, I want to watch Batman. And every kid's like, yeah. And the teacher was like, we can't. And I was like, huh? And she's like, it's rated R. You were explicitly told no rated R movies. And I had like a note that got sent home with me scolding my parents for letting me watch a rated R movie. But the worst was that all these kids in this room were so hyped for Batman. And then the teacher had to talk a room full of first graders down that we're definitely not watching a rated R movie. We're watching Homeward Bound or whatever it was instead. And everybody just, aww.
I'll say, I'm pretty sure I saw this in theaters.
I think I did.
Wait,
I'm trying to
really?
remember.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I did.
I'm pretty sure. I know I saw Batman Returns in theaters.
I definitely saw that.
I know
one in
that for a
theaters.
fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my favorite moment from this film
Mhm.
is whenever the Joker, Jack Nicholson, is he is now the Joker. He's completely
Yeah.
encapsulated by this, and he delivers the line, "Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so bonkers
Oh, yeah.
that it encapsulates just kind of like the whole film of just how ridiculous it is.
It does. I just love how hard Jack Nicholson went on this role. Like, his laugh is crazy.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
He does a very good Joker.
Yeah. And I remember everybody, well, I don't remember this. I was a kid, but I know everyone at the time was kind of like, when Michael Keaton was cast as Batman, they were like, the guy that was Mr. Mom? You know?
Yeah.
How's this guy going to be Batman?
But and that kind of like it's those roles that really define a lot of people's careers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just because like this film, Tim Burton, he just does such a good job at the style and the aesthetic of what Batman was in the 80s.
Yeah. And then the theme song.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Danny Elfman on that theme song, which Warner Brothers did not want him to do the score.
Wow,
crazy.
that's
They refused.
crazy.
They were like, the guy, because all he had done before that was, he was in Oingo Boingo.
Yeah.
And he was in Oingo Boingo, Danny Elfman, and he did Pee Wee's Big Adventure. That was it.
Oh, that's right.
And so they listened to
Okay.
Pee Wee's Big Adventure, and they were like, yeah, he's not doing Batman. And Tim Burton was like really good friends with him. And he was like, this guy's doing the score or whatever.
Yeah.
And they just like refused, and they were like back and forth. And he basically brought in a tape of like, this is his score. And it was like, da 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 da. Everybody was
Yeah.
like, okay, I guess he can do the
I
score.
guess
I guess
Well,
can do
Since
that.
this is an amazing
Seeing as
score.
how he's already done it, I guess we'll let him do it.
Yeah. Anyway, so I always love that because it's such a like iconic that opening Batman score is just
It's
killer.
great,
And
yeah.
again, it captures the mood
It does.
of the whole film and the
Mhm.
character of Batman himself.
Yeah.
That was mine. Love me some Batman. So we have Back to the Future, Batman,
And
Home Alone.
Home Alone.
We're
Yeah,
keeping
so
it for
all
old
over the
school.
place.
yeah. Well, I mean, there are some fantastic. Obviously, these are the best top box.
And
Yeah.
were you going to
Box
be like,
office
what, Avengers Endgame? I mean, what are you going to drop?
I
on
mean,
us?
You also had like Forrest Gump is on that list.
Top Gun,
Toy
Independence
Story.
Day is
Yeah.
even for what it is, it's a fun movie.
I thought about Independence
I
Day.
thought about
Welcome
Independence
to
Day.
Earth.
We watch
Yeah.
that every year.
That's my baby.
We have it on
Independence Day.
Laserdisc.
I watched that with my nephew who's like 5 for the first time this past year. And I thought it was gonna like blow his mind. He was like, that's pretty good. Kids these days. Even Welcome to Earth didn't get him.
So
Come on. Come on,
Will
kid.
Smith, come on.
Pearls before swine.
All right.
All right, let's get into Avatar. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna start with a plot summary. So
Good,
buckle
good
up
place
for
to
this
start.
one.
Oh, man.
Buckle up for this
Oh,
one.
man.
Here we go.
Unobtainium.
Ah.
Let me get in my trailer voice. The natural resources of the earth have been depleted, and humanity now mines the valuable mineral unobtainium on Pandora,
Oh, cringe.
a moon in the Alpha Centauri system. Pandora, whose atmosphere is poisonous to humans, is inhabited by the Na'vi, 10-foot tall, blue-skinned humanoids that live in harmony with nature. Okay, I'm gonna stop the voice
You can't do
because it
it.
keeps going.
Can't do it.
To explore Pandora, scientists use Na'vi-human hybrids called avatars. A paraplegic Marine named Jake Sully is given a second chance at life when he replaces his identical twin brother as an avatar operator and falls in love with a Na'vi woman.
Excuse me. I'm pretty sure his name is Jake Sully.
Sully. As a bond with her grows, he is drawn into a battle for the survival of her world.
So that's Avatar.
That's
Woo,
Avatar.
That is, in fact, Avatar.
Released in December 18th, 2009, written and directed by James Cameron, the only man that could have directed this
So
movie.
quick trivia. Do you
According to
know
himself.
Yeah.
do you know the original year that Avatar was supposed to come out?
like when his first
the,
idea for it?
the projected date of when they initially wanted it to come out.
Oh, I don't know. What was it?
1999.
Woo! They wanted to
Okay.
compete with Star Wars.
Well, because his first draft was like 94. He
Yeah.
came up with the idea for
Yeah.
it, but then he said that he didn't have the technology wasn't there.
Yeah, the technology wasn't there to complete his vision.
It was when he saw Return of the King.
Yeah,
I think
no, Two Towers.
Two Towers.
Two
He
Towers. He was like, I think it's ready.
it's ready.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he saw, like, Phantom Menace. He's like, it's not ready yet.
He
Sorry, George,
He saw
it ain't
Fellowship.
ready.
He's like, nope, still
Nope,
not
nope.
there.
Still not there. One movie later, okay,
Just right.
just right. It's like Goldilocks with movies. Starring Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Sigourney Weaver, Michelle Rodriguez, Giovanni Ribisi, and Stephen Lang. So a pretty good cast all around, with the exception of Sam Worthington. Oops. Spoiler alert. We'll get to that later. Music by James Horner, who did Titanic.
Yep.
Pretty good soundtrack.
No, yeah, good soundtrack.
The budget was $160 million.
And the best return ever.
And it brought in
Oh,
a
man.
total worldwide box office of $2.9 billion.
With
the B.
With a
billion.
B.
And
That's more than a lot of countries like GDP.
it's not 2.9. It's like 2.992 billion.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
pushing
It's-
$3 billion.
Well, the only reason I rounded it down to 2.9 and not up to 3 is because that's counting the recent re-release.
The re-release,
that they
yeah.
just ran
but
through
still,
theaters. I've got to penalize it for that. And put it down just 2.9.
How
Paltry.
dare
we're gonna
you.
shave you back 90
Paltry
million.
2.9 billion. With 785 million of that coming from just domestic U.S. showings,
It's just
which is just
insane.
obscene.
Yeah.
I just,
Um,
oh man.
It is the
Especially for
highest,
2009.
the highest grossing movie of all time.
Yep.
Avatar. Okay,
Avatar.
let's talk
Avatar.
about our overall thoughts. Andrew, what are your overall thoughts on the movie Avatar?
So I actually like this film. I'm not going to say I love it,
Mm-hmm.
but I've seen it quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I definitely enjoy it when I do watch it. And yeah, I mean it's a fine film. I think you really watch it for the spectacle of like the CGI and
Mhm.
how well it
the
holds
scenery.
up. The cinematography is phenomenal, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's quite good. The music's good. James Horner did a fantastic
Mhm.
job.
Mhm.
You don't really go here for acting. You don't really go here
No.
for plot.
No.
But it's still a very entertaining film. you know what's going to happen, and you know the story beats that are gonna pop up.
Yeah,
because it's just Dances with Wolves, but with aliens.
sure.
Or Fern Gully or Last Samurai, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. And it's definitely one of those where I think that the plot of the film, unfortunately, is a white savior story, which is not fun.
Sure.
And it's just very stereotypical of kind of what you would expect out of this.
Mhm.
But that's not why you're there. You're there for the spectacle of the visuals and the CGI
Right.
and the cinematography, which are all fantastic.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, this is definitely a film where we'll probably toss it on once a year.
Okay. Steven, what do you think overall about
All right,
Avatar?
so I would just like to say that back in 2009, James Cameron himself
Mhm.
came down from on high and dictated that the only way to watch this movie is in 3D.
Yeah.
I hated it because I hate 3D.
I actually like 3D films.
All 3D films, like theater 3D films, where
Yeah.
you got to wear the glasses, et cetera,
Mhm.
I leave with a massive headache every time.
So this is a biological problem that you need
Yes,
to work on.
this is a perfect. This is a
you need to
personal
try harder, is
problem.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
You need to squint better
So I will say,
through two pairs of glasses.
after rewatching it for the show,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which is the first time I've seen it since in theaters.
Oh wow.
Oh wow, really?
Like
Okay.
again, I mean, you already hit on this, right?
Yeah.
Fern Gully, Last Samurai. There's a lot of options there that didn't require 3D glasses,
Very
Sure.
true.
and I've seen all of them
Yeah.
in theater.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like I kind of had a bit of a hate on for this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So watching it for this was it's nice. It is not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it is your whatever flavor of white savior story you really want to watch. You need it in space, you need it in Japan, you need it in the Amazon.
Well, now hold on. Last Samurai is not a white savior story, but continue.
Got him.
Anyways, the real, but like,
Anyways, I don't know if the sassiness came through on the audio, but in person, Steven had his hand on his hip.
shaking
It
his
was a
finger.
little It was intense, yeah.
but yeah. So thank you for that derailment.
So what did you think overall? Like it?
Oh yeah, it's decent. I
Okay.
mean, again, we're 13 years, right? And
Yeah.
and maybe Cameron was right that the technology was there because most of the CGI holds up pretty well.
Yeah.
The scenery is pretty spectacular. The lighting effects that they do
Are ridiculous.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
just phenomenal. The way the creatures are designed look good,
Mhm.
right? Like there's a lot
The art direction in this film is ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's a lot to like about it.
Yeah.
There's several things to not like about it.
Oh,
right?
sure.
And
Yeah.
we'll get real deep into that, I'm sure, once we cross the spoiler wall. But yeah, I mean, as a whole, I enjoyed it more than I expected.
Yeah.
It's real long.
It's a long film.
You should watch the director's cut.
No,
It's
I'm
even
good.
longer.
Thank you.
There's the director's cut.
Oh yeah.
How long is it?
I think it's only like 20 extra minutes. It's not like a ton.
That's a lot of time.
But I'll wait till it's my turn to say my overall thoughts to get into it. But yeah.
I mean, I take it. Go
Okay.
for it.
So this is a movie that I've seen probably about 4 times. This being like the 4th time,
Yeah.
maybe 5th. It's hard to tell.
Mhm.
I
It all
watched it.
runs together.
Well, I watched it twice in theaters. One time in 3D.
We
one
saw
time
it
in
a
2D.
lot in theaters.
So
And
y'all are why like
we inflated the budget.
every
the
time.
gross.
Every time that a movie comes up where it's just like, yeah, it made so much. And she's like, I saw it 4 times. Like, all right, I'm starting to understand why these movies are making so much money.
It's
They're
the same guy. He just keeps
Keeps
going
showing
back and back.
Look, I'm sorry that I liked Fellowship of the Ring a lot.
So sue me.
We saw it like 6 times in the first weekend. It was ridiculous.
Incredible.
Yeah. Anyways,
is there even enough time for that?
there is. Continue.
Anyways, my problem is I think I like this movie a little bit less every time I see it.
Oh,
That's
interesting.
That's not to say that I dislike it.
Yeah, yeah.
I just think the further we get away from that initial spectacle of
You're
like,
like,
oh
"Oh,
my
yeah."
gosh, the more of the imperfections I see,
The seams.
that things that I'm like, I don't remember this being like that in the original, the
Yeah.
first time I saw it. And it's just the stuff of like the further we get from 2009, where like the CG holds up, but it's still 2009 CG. Right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
like the the impressiveness of it is not there as much anymore. It's more just like, oh yeah, this really holds up. It still looks good in a lot of scenes,
but it's
and
not
like
just,
you're saying,
oh, the colors.
Yeah, the art direction's really good. But again, once you've seen it a few times, and now 13 years later, as the patina wears off or whatever, it's like I'm starting to see the chinks in the armor of like, okay, look at that.
Isn't patina as like
it's the other way around?
It's the other way around.
So as it gets more patina, I can't see
the finish wears off.
The finish wears off.
The varnish.
The paint is fading.
There you go.
Yeah.
Keep beat this metaphor up a little more. All right.
How can I rework it a few more times? I think overall the visuals are great. I think the back half of the movie is better just because that's where the best action takes place.
Right.
I think Sam Worthington struggles the whole way through.
He's not a very good
actor.
I mean, his credits on IMDb are basically Avatar.
Well, he doesn't really get a lot to work with either.
No, but there was a hot minute where Sam Worthington was like in a bunch of stuff. He was in the Clash of the Titans remake. He was in this.
But nobody
he was in
cares
the Terminator
about the
movie.
Clash of the Titans remake.
Right, but I'm just saying.
Or Terminator Salvation.
He was in that one phone booth assassin movie. He was in like a bunch of stuff around like 2009 through like 2011.
I mean, he made $2.9 billion.
Oh, sure. But
not personally, but he made a lot.
But I really think that like there was this moment in time where Hollywood was like, we got to get Sam Worthington in this. And then after like 4 years, they were like, hey, we all tried. He's not a great actor, so let's just not put him in anything else for the rest of the decade until Avatar 2.
James Cameron comes back and is like, Sam, I need you.
Jimmy Cameron can keep him in the Avatar movies. That'd be one of those every few years, right, guys? Right?
Yeah, surely.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, it's the writing and the plot and the criminal underuse of Giovanni Ribisi that they did in this movie, where it's like he just plays this one note like corporate evil bad guy who's very cartoonish. That like. Giovanni Ribisi's great.
What else is he in?
Man.
So
if you hadn't told,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so because we're talking about Sam Worthington, I don't want to just bash him into the ground here.
Yeah.
Did you not like him as an actor in live action, where he is playing himself, or whenever he is in the Avatar and just basically doing voice acting in mocap?
Yes.
Both.
He probably did better in the live action because when he's in the mocap, there's way too many, and this is a problem more with like just the movie and the writing. There's way too many woohoo, yeah, and things that like the call outs when they're like writing stuff that I'm like, I just don't need that. Like I don't.
Yeah, now fair enough. They did kind of be like cast him as the meathead Marine.
Yeah, he's supposed to be,
and the dialogue supports that, and it's not great.
It's still for me is grating now. Whereas I remember the first time I saw it, I didn't even come out of it thinking, oh man, his character was so like dumb. And now I'm like, this guy is the worst. This guy is like, what's wrong? I just did this. I just stepped on all these plants and shot all these things. Like, why are you mad at me? And it's like, obviously.
he's over here like blazing with the gun, like, yeah, science.
Well, he just takes so long to like catch up on the uptake that it's like we in the audience are already like, come on, dude, you got it, right? And it's in the movie time, weeks have passed, and he's still clueless.
Yeah.
Like,
now, dude, I will say, I'm gonna stop you.
Okay.
There is one scene, where I will give him full marks and credit, and it's not just him; it's the writing, it's the everything lines up perfectly, but it happens real early, and then that shine kind of wears off real fast.
No, and it's not just a bag on him the whole time through.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moments where his Australian accent pokes through, and there's a little trivia thing. I'll jump ahead to that, where he said that learning Na'vi and speaking that was easier for him than trying to manage an American accent.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm like, I can see that now on this like fourth or fifth time, because there's so many words where I'm like, that's not how anyone would
because
say
I guess whenever you're learning a completely foreign language that isn't semi-close to yours,
you got nowhere to go but up.
You have a lot more. It's a blank slate at that point, where you don't have these obviously lifetime worth of habits and everything.
Yeah, just ingrained into your speech. Yeah. So yeah, I think the CG holds up. I think the story is serviceable. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's definitely, like you said, like Dances with Wolves or Fern Gully.
Yeah.
It's Fern Gully in twice the time.
Yeah.
Almost
Fern Gully's an animated film.
Almost exactly.
Yeah.
Is the thing. It's 1 hour and 16 for Fern Gully. It's 2:41 for
So you could watch
Avatar.
2 Fern Gullies.
Yeah, it's an animated film.
With enough time to pop some
Hand
popcorn.
animated, I should add.
I know.
Continue.
Yeah. I'll save the stuff that's on the special edition, the director's cut, for after the spoiler wall.
Yeah.
But needless to say, there's a lot of stuff in this movie that, like, the thing that surprised me the most this time that I think I had just, maybe I forgot it, was how scantily clad the Na'vi are a lot of the time.
Just all the time.
It was like uncomfortable this time. I was like, wow, did James Cameron have like a side contract with DeviantArt?
Oh, no,
where he's like, hey guys, I got you, don't worry.
So fun fact of trivia.
Oh, here we go.
Oh boy.
There was one.
Time for that tall blue glass of water.
God. There was a. He had one whenever they were designing the Na'vi. He specifically said that they had to have breasts.
Sure,
they had to,
despite not necessarily being mammalian.
But they only
cover them with one strand of beads. Please.
Question: how many fingers does the Na'vi have?
Was it like 3?
4.
4? Okay.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where whenever he was designing them, he wanted them to be as close to human-like as possible because they had a romantic thing in the film written in the story, and he didn't want it to be too weird. Just because, like, you know, this
like
human,
Galaxy Quest octopus person going at it, you know.
Yeah, so he didn't want to be too much dissonance between that because there was a romantic storyline.
But he still needed them.
Sure, but why were they so
alien.
Scantily clad?
Don't ask me. I didn't.
I thought you were about to
No,
explain why.
like that's just
part
of
I thought there was a good explanation coming. I was wrong.
Yeah, that's about as okay, I don't know.
No, you're good.
No.
Anyways, I'm sorry. I derailed it. Go ahead.
That was just something that surprised me this time. Of like, man, I forgot how they're not wearing much clothes.
I mean, it's going to be the same in the new
just
one.
One strand of line and a couple of beads.
Yeah.
Yep. But I think visually, there's a lot of really cool scenes. You know, like later in the movie, in that back half, that they do great. The action, again, like the directing and like the cinematography,
it's really good.
Really good.
You know
again,
what's happening.
It cannot be understated how much this movie pushed things forward for like the facial real-time capture and like all that stuff. You know, that's very commonplace now.
Yeah.
That like this.
It just didn't exist
until
it didn't
then,
exist, essentially. And James Cameron is still a master craft when it comes to action films.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, unobtainium aside, there's a lot of like, the writing isn't like terrible. And the thing I realize too, the older I get and again, the more times I see it, is that like this movie probably played really well for foreign audiences because I think you could watch this without subtitles and not speak the language and still
know
understand
exactly what's happening.
Yeah, pretty much everything that's happening.
Because again, the bad guys are cartoonishly like one dimension on a lot of levels. And like everything that happens, you could probably, watch this with the sound off.
I mean, Sam Worthington kills it.
Yeah.
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 What?
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 Kills it as in good or kills it in bad? What do you mean?
Hold on. I got the wrong name, didn't I? No, yes. Sam Worthington. Yeah, he's the bad guy.
No, Sam Worthington is the main.
No.
Stephen Lang.
Stephen Lang.
Thank you.
Stephen Lang.
Record scratch. I'm going to add it in the post. Sam Worthington kills enjoyment of the movie.
We just had a whole segment that was, hey, let's bag on Sam Worthington without backing him too hard.
They both start with S's.
Stephen Lang does kill it.
Absolutely kills
my only complaint with him is just that, like, it almost goes so far into like being like one that it's almost parody when he's like drinking coffee, like, all right, genocide, drink. You're like, okay, is anyone that evil?
A little too casual here.
Like, that's pretty cartoonishly evil. That probably plays for any audience.
Yeah.
You know?
I just remember in theaters when they said, this is why we're here, unobtainium. I'm pretty sure I actually like one of the only times in my life where I have audibly like yelled at a movie. We're like, that's a placeholder.
There are a few moments in this movie that feels like they we'll figure that out in post. And
they didn't. Yeah. Or they're like,
fine.
Unobtainium. Okay, we'll come up with a cooler name for it. Yeah. And they just kept saying it over and over again until eventually they were just like, well, it has to be unobtainium, right? Like, yeah, the word's just grown on me.
Right. Okay, so would you recommend this movie?
Overall thoughts, huh?
I would.
I mean, you watch it every year.
I mean, it's a good adventure film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steven, would you recommend it?
I mean, man, this is hard. It's really hard because ultimately the story doesn't bring anything that Fern Gully or, Last Samurai, Dance.
Sure.
Like, it just doesn't bring something new.
length.
What it brings is
no,
the
Dances
world.
with Wolves is longer.
I know,
which is precisely why Way of the Water, when it comes out, is like 11 minutes longer
it's
than
Way
Dances
of Water.
Whatever. When it comes, Avatar 2, when it comes out, it's 11 minutes longer than Dances with Wolves, just so James Cameron can be like, I have the longest one.
Gross.
Next thing you know, he's going to release a 30-minute one. Be like, I have both. I've covered
The shortest and the
The
longest.
shortest and the longest.
I mean, I think what it brings to the table is the world building and
Yes.
the Pandora.
I mean, they have an
there's-
entire Disney park or section
Right.
for
Yeah,
this.
and
So-
they did a lot on not just like the language. Like there is a whole ton of lore that was made both for the movie and also around the movie that we haven't necessarily seen yet, which is part of the reason why James Cameron has like 4 other movies lined up ready to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, if you like Ferngully, Dances with Wolves, et cetera, and you want to complete the set, then this is a must watch, right?
Yeah.
Right.
If you've never seen any of those, go watch Dances with Wolves first.
because it's the first one.
It's the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think that for what it was, right? The spectacle of it, the achievements technologically,
Yeah.
it's worth watching it for that. Because there are still some lighting effects in the CGI with like the way the plants move and stuff
Mhm.
that are just phenomenal.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
some of the shots that are done with like the little floating seed pods. and
yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
it's just that is the kind of thing that at the time was just absolutely mind blowing. Now maybe it's not quite as much, but most movies that are this heavy in CGI, everything's moving real fast. Whereas here we have really slow,
Mhm.
drink in the scenery kind of moments, and so I do think for that it's definitely watchable.
Well, and it really gives you the sense of true spectacle when you're watching this film.
It's got a sense of wonder to it,
Yeah.
right?
And there's not a lot of fully or mostly CG films from like 2009 that you would still watch today and be like, this 100% holds up.
Do you know how much of a percentage this film is in CGI? Just take a guess.
Just a wild guess
Yeah.
of what made it in the final cut, right?
What made it in the final cut?
85%.
I would say 70.
It is 60% CGI.
Okay.
That
Both of us
obviously
were
that's
over.
less than we thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
I guess the ground was
I
probably
guess if you're counting like
solid.
a real-time actor
It-
or
it-
live
it-
action actor
well,
in front of
the,
a CG
the
set.
definition is kind of hairy because
Right.
it's like,
Right.
well, what do you consider CGI?
Yeah,
Or
it's
what do you
like-
consider only live
Did they like
action?
look at screen real estate and say for every frame, these CGI screens took up 10%, so that counts for this? Or, I don't know.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure how they get that number, but yeah, 60% is how much
Okay.
CGI is in the film.
It's still
Ryan.
quite a bit, but I would still say that like
It is
there aren't many-
majority.
All right, let's reel it in. Reel it in. Ryan,
yes.
would you recommend this
I would
film?
recommend it. I think it's a very good adventure movie. Like you say, I think the action speaks for itself. It's
Mhm.
great. Don't come to it thinking like this plot's going to be revolutionary
You know,
and change your
everyone
life.
knows this plot just like in their subconscious at
But
this point.
it's a good solid story. That's why it's been done so many times. But like if someone told me they loved this movie and it was their favorite movie of all time, or told me they hated it and it was the worst thing they'd ever seen, I would believe both people. I think this movie could very easily skew if you don't care about spectacle and you don't care about that kind of stuff and you want emotion and story. I could see people picking it apart. So this
Yeah.
is a really
Mhm.
good action movie. There's a lot of world building in terms of like the visuals, the way Pandora looks and all that kind of stuff. And I would definitely recommend it. At least see it once if you haven't watched Avatar.
Yeah. So obviously, both of you have rewatched it of your own accord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to be forced.
Okay.
Twist my arm a little bit. So I think that kind of gives a measure of
Enjoyment?
how rewatch. Well, I mean, Ryan's over here like every time I rewatch it, I hate it a little more, or I love it a little less. I don't know.
I love it a little less.
Yeah, I
is
love
the
it a
way to
little
put it.
less.
Yeah.
Yeah. So buyer beware on
Your
heavy
mileage
rewatching.
may vary.
Yeah.
But it seems like your initial experience with the 3D is what probably sold you the most on it, right? The initial
it did. Well, I mean, it's
headache
one of
and-
these things where it's like we know the story. Like the story's been done,
Mhm.
and the big selling point, especially at the time, the big selling point was the visuals, the
Mhm.
3D, and
Yeah.
it was like, well, this is terrible. And again, I did say, it holds up better than I thought it would, and it's less offensive. Just on my little 50-inch TV or whatever it is at home
Mhm.
with standard sound. I know that makes Ryan angry.
He just has TV speakers.
I'm refusing to speak right now because I'm so angry.
He's
He
just
says
shaking over
talking.
here in the corner.
Can't contain my rage anymore.
But I mean, I think it is rewatchable at the end of the day.
Guys, I want to talk to you about something very important to me.
Breaking announcement.
SpoilersIntendedPodcast.com.
Near and dear to your heart.
It's a very good website. It's full of content.
It is full of content.
Yeah, all of our episodes, bios about us,
Discord links.
links to our Patreon, links to everything. We got all sorts of previous episodes. We got Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. We got Andor.
We have Alien.
Blade
Runner.
Yeah.
Get some sci-fi in there.
Bullet Train. Aviator.
Rings of Power. House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon. It does exist.
Yeah, all sorts of good stuff. We have a Discord that's open to everybody. You can just jump in there. We talk about not only our episodes, but we talk about what we've been watching, what we've been playing, like video games,
what we're
music
listening
to.
Yeah, a lot of good discussion in there.
Yeah, get in there. We'd love to have you visit us in the Discord.
Come
and
hang
talk
out
with
with
us.
us.
Join us.
Yeah. We have social media. If you don't follow us yet on Instagram or Facebook, come on, get in there. Like it, share it. Let's get the word out about this show.
Yeah.
If you listen to us on specifically iTunes, but whatever you listen to, please give us a review.
Love a review.
Yeah, we would love it if you'd rate it. That's how those services, bubble up podcasts and recommend it to people. We are a slave to the algorithm, so please help us out. Leave us a review, please.
Please.
All right, that means we are past the spoiler wall, so it's all spoilers all the time.
If you haven't seen the first Avatar from 2009 by now, I don't know what you're doing if you're already here.
Somehow, yeah.
If you haven't, you can keep listening. It's fine.
We all know the story.
Yeah.
Have you seen Dances with Wolves? Have you seen Pocahontas? Have you seen
Ferngully.
Have you seen Last Samurai?
Have you seen anyone make fun of Avatar? You've probably had most of the plot points spoiled for you in that way. So it's fine. Keep listening.
Did you know that James Cameron was inspired to make this film because of Pocahontas?
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't Dances with Wolves, despite the very close similarities.
Disney is real salty about the fact that he was inspired by Pocahontas, an animated film that did okay, and then cranked out $2.9 billion.
I mean, they own
Walt
it now.
Disney's big mad. Yeah, so mad they went out and bought it. I'll show you what if I owe you.
Some more trivia, some fun stuff here. So like you said, it was originally supposed to be completed in 1999.
Yeah.
At the time, the special effects obviously would have increased the budget to over $400 million. So no studio would fund it. And so he had to shelve it for 8 years until he could finally get a studio to put the money towards it. Most of the animal noises heard in this movie are recycled dinosaur noises from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, the little like panther thing is definitely just the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah, it's the T-Rex and the Raptors specifically, but they just recycled a lot of that. Like, where do you get that sound library?
The Banshee, or like the little Banshee flying things that they ride on.
Yeah,
those are definitely Velociraptor sounds.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were laughing when we were watching it the other night. I was like, oh yeah.
There it is.
There it is.
I can't not hear it.
Yeah.
James Cameron wanted an unknown actor to play Jake Sully because it would give the character a real quality. You know, the guy you want to have a beer with who ultimately becomes the leader who transforms a whole world. That was his quote.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, sigh.
Yeah. It could have been anyone else.
It could have been. Yeah, so that's all the trivia I got. I think we've touched on everything else.
Yeah, I for some reason, I have a lot of really
I was about to ask, you sound like you did more trivia research than I
looked up
did.
Nothing.
You just have
this is just
in your back
information,
pocket ready
this
to
information
go.
I've had over the years.
You just wake up at night in a cold sweat. Actually, the first time Avatar was written, it was...
So what you didn't know is that Andrew is just an Avatar super fan.
No.
His first
don't stereotype me that way.
His first body pillow, let me tell you, is 10 foot long.
Oh no, Andrew. You dirty bird.
The size of the king size bed.
I don't know. It's also the size of a Navi.
Oh, don't say that.
10-foot bed would be massive. That sounds great, actually. Okay, let's get into Spectacle. So we touched on it a lot, obviously, in our overall thoughts. But what did you guys think of the Spectacle?
I mean, it's still pretty, right?
Sure.
So one thing that stood out to me that I just totally did not remember, right? Because it's been 13 years since I seen it. Was there are a couple of very just kind of gratuitous slow-mo scenes.
There are.
And it's just like, I don't know if this needed to be slow-mo, but boy, it really shows that this is, in fact, 13-year-old CGI.
There's a couple slow-mo scenes whenever I can't even remember her name. The princess saves Jake the first time from like the little jackals or whatever, and there's
running things.
Yeah, and there's like a slow-mo scene of her like swinging the bow around her head and then like smacking something. It doesn't hold up. It doesn't look
good.
very good.
No, the motion blur helps a lot with some of the movement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when they're in full motion with like full frame rate, it looks good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta say, like Pandora at night is gorgeous.
Oh yes.
Oh man, like the bioluminescence and stuff they got. They had a good couple of weeks at the VFX department for those.
Oh yeah, that strikes me as like one of those things that when he probably went to like the VFX team before they were doing like pre-production, he was probably like, I want bioluminescence. What can you do? And they had like that, and he was like, I'm gonna put that throughout the whole film.
They're like, well, we can always render this. He's like, I'm gonna put that everywhere. They're like, oh god, that took us like 3 weeks to do this one clip.
So the poor guy at his computer's like, wait, what? He's like, what if the whole jungle was that? And they're like,
this
is your
life now.
No. I it's like one plant. He's like, what if every plant did it though?
And it reacted to their touch every time.
Yeah. They had like one beast, and he's like, I love that beast. Give me 50 of them. Like, oh crap.
Well, also, I was, they have like those moments that's almost like a black light, like the body paint and stuff. That I had this thought of like, I don't know that I've ever seen CGI of a black light.
I mean, it definitely exists, but like it's probably not easy to do.
No, that was the first thing I thought. Was like, that's interesting, like to think about. Of like they had to render what the light would do under like a black light situation.
Or they're like, they were looking at some of the scenes after they did the VFX, like the mocap dots are showing through. I don't know, man, make them glow.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very pretty film, but
very much so.
But what really gets me excited whenever I watch the film is I know Ryan kind of mentioned like the last half of the film has some really good action in it, and the size and scale of whenever they're fighting, like I'll say pelicans, like just like the little hover helicopters or whatever.
Yeah.
The scale of the banshees fighting them whenever like the big one comes down and grabs it and like throws it into a rock and everything, like they really have the scale and the intensity of what that would be down like perfectly when they're fighting in the floating mountains or whatever. Oh man.
Well, and that scene specifically, because what happens, and I think the movie does a really good job to like visually convey this to you, is like when you stick with the avatars for too long, their height and
it doesn't matter
the scale of like everything seems like normal.
Scales down.
So in that scene where it grabs that helicopter thing, all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, these things are as big as the helicopters.
These are massive.
These are huge.
Or even at the end, like the very end of the movie when she saves him and she's in like the little containment pod or whatever.
Yeah, and she's holding him.
She's holding his human. It's like she's holding a baby.
Yeah. Those kind of scenes are a little kind of like uncanny valley a little bit, because you know that he is a human, and like they're just like, wow, this is a really big blue thing.
Yeah. No, I definitely think that like if there's any like moments in the film where the spectacle hits a hitch ever, it's when there's the mixture of live action people and Na'vi specifically.
When they're carrying Sigourney Weaver to the tree, whenever she's like injured and she's about to die, like that scene is that's hard.
It's not bad though.
It's not
it still
bad.
holds up. It's just that's when
you see the scene.
You see the scenes for sure.
As soon as you get the scale of like a Na'vi holding a human.
Yeah.
It really does something to your brain. Where you're just like, no, this just doesn't feel right.
When it's the edges too of like, I don't know how they did that scene. If they got like Sigourney Weaver on a big pallet jack covered in green and they like moved it, if they had like how they did that. But like whatever they did, it's just like not quite.
Yeah, but that's probably one of the harder VFX shots in the movie.
Oh, sure.
Just because like you have this live actor in the CGI environment that has to be manipulated around, and they're not just on a green screen.
Yeah.
And especially whenever this is kind of the opposite direction. Whenever Jake Sully goes into the avatar for the first time, and he wakes up in like kind of like the little like medical area.
Yeah.
And he's like fumbling around where the normal human doctors are like trying to like, hey, you need to slow down.
Slow down. Yeah.
And that actually looks quite good.
It does.
Of him like fumbling around them and like kind of like going through.
I think a big part that helps there is he's the only color.
Yeah.
Right? It's a very white, sterile place,
Yeah.
and all the doctors are like garbed and robed up and stuff. So he's the only big splasher just blue.
Yeah.
So it's really easy for like the scale and the comparisons that your brain wants to make to fade out because everything's just white. It's so stark.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Thinking about that scene, that did not hit me.
It didn't
the
take
way
you
the
out.
scenes towards the end of the movie did get me, where I was like, man, this feels kind of weird.
Well, and I think the difference too is like in one scene you have one CG element with people, and at the other one it's one person with all CG elements.
That's true too.
So it's like I think it's easier. Well, and probably VFX artists have had a lot more time and years throughout the 90s and into the 2000s to put a single CG
single
element
item
into
as opposed
something
to an entire CGI everything
versus a live action person in a CG scene.
Which
like
I got to say, all the sci-fi elements, right? So like you've already touched on the kind of like the helicopters and where they look, but like the inside of the base and everything, that all looks great.
It looks good. Yeah,
that is pretty much classic what I would think of as like a human settlement sci-fi.
Yeah.
Well,
feel and look.
You only see it for just right at the beginning of the film, but the spaceship that they come in.
Oh yeah,
it looks great.
A hard sci-fi.
Yeah,
spaceship.
it looks fantastic, and you can definitely tell where James Cameron's general eye, like his history of like Terminator 2 and Aliens.
Yeah.
Like that is really showing through with a lot of the hard sci-fi elements in the movie.
You can see the DNA.
Yeah,
right
he
through
does
it.
such a good job with it.
And really small piece, but they did a good job too at the start again with the weightlessness and kind of the idea of hibernation, cryostasis, and these kind of like the movie starts and it feels real hard sci-fi and it kind of slides from there.
Yeah.
But it could still have held on to those roots if it wanted to.
I too want to shout out the character design, not only of the Na'vi and like the creatures on Pandora, but like even the costuming of like I forgot his name now, but the main bad guy with the scar on his face, Stephen Lang, his character,
Colonel,
that sounds right.
Which is just generic bad guy. I'm having a quarrel with you,
bad man #1. But with the scar on his eye and like just how like tan he is, you know? And then Sigourney Weaver and her outfit, and like everyone has like a kind of a look to them that is distinct.
They pass the silhouette test.
Yeah, and they do a good job again, not only of the CG creatures.
Quaritch.
Okay. So everyone has a cool look to them, and again, like you're saying, the technology is really fun. The designs of the ships, and like I like the user interfaces they use too, like when they pull up a lot of that stuff.
Oh yeah, those look good. Those kind of look a bit Iron Man-esque.
A little bit, yeah.
But they're still contained within screens. They don't feel as MCU.
I think because like Iron Man came out in 2008. A lot of this was probably either in post production or already done with post production by the time this came out.
I mean, it's generic sci-fi.
Yeah,
it's
very generic sci-fi kind of stuff. So I guess we want to move on to
let's go ahead and move into performance.
Yeah,
sure.
So what did you think, Andrew?
It's Sigourney Weaver does a fantastic job.
She just any screen, right?
Yeah.
She's just like, put me in there, coach.
Yeah,
Let's go.
She dominates it whenever she's on it. I don't know. I think she's really good.
I think she did okay in this.
So fun fact.
I think she did way better in other stuff she's been in. To me, it felt like
this isn't her best film, but it's also not her worst.
There were definitely some lines where she delivered it, and I was like, that's the best take y'all got? Like, Sigourney Weaver is better. Like, it felt like she hadn't done a role in this, like, style in a while, and she was, like, getting the cobwebs off. She did okay, but, like, I just feel like you got Sigourney Weaver. You could have had her do a little better.
Well, she's also not a main, not like the main.
Sure.
So fun fact: whenever she was chosen for this role, her muse of who she was trying to emulate was James Cameron himself.
Okay. So maybe he's a bad actor off camera.
To really be this hardline, no nonsense kind of character, she wanted to basically be James Cameron for this role. And
gotcha.
Then you have Stephen Lang, which I really like him
kills
a lot.
It. Kills it.
He is the emphatic bad guy. You know exactly what he's about the second that he's on screen. And you're like, yep, he's going to be the final boss.
Just
that's
military through and through.
Yep. I think for me, performance-wise, Zoe Saldana as Neytiri takes the cake. I think she's the one who gives the most emotion in her performance
Definitely.
out of
Mhm.
everybody. And I think she's given probably the most opportunity with the way the script is written.
Mhm.
Well, I don't even know if so. I actually, I when I was writing my notes down for this, I said that I thought, it's kind of hard to judge her just because her role is only CGI,
Mhm.
but being able to essentially be the other piece of this story, really, as a character who is only CGI, is pretty impressive when you really get into it.
Well, and I think again for the time and the motion capture of they were capturing the actors' faces while they
Yeah.
were,
Mhm.
doing that kind of stuff, which is I don't know if it's the first movie that did it, but it's definitely the biggest movie at the time that had implemented that kind of
Mhm.
technology. I think her performance as Neytiri is the proof in the pudding of like, look, this is what you can do with this
Mhm.
technology. You can still, even though it's CG,
You can still get emotion.
look at the
and
emotion you
yeah.
can show. Look
Yeah.
at the performance you can get out of this instead of it. Because I believe like before that, people probably thought like Jar Jar Binks and, they're thinking of CG characters in that way. And they're
Yeah.
not thinking of like deep emotional,
Mhm.
performances with like, I don't know, it's in the eyes. They
Yeah.
really got the eyes right where it didn't have that uncanny valley dead,
Yeah, they had a lot
CGI
of life in them.
Well,
Yeah.
and it helps too that they're very different from like CGI human eyes, right?
Yeah, because we know what those look
Right.
like.
Yeah, exactly.
So what? Another small shout out, and this is more just I like Michelle Rodriguez.
I was gonna say she did really good.
Yeah, she did
too.
a great job.
Yeah.
She always plays the same
she's
character.
Michelle Rodriguez,
Yeah.
right?
But I don't care. She's always great and everything.
I'm
I
here
see
for it.
Yeah.
yeah, you know what you're gonna get, right?
Yep.
And she delivers.
Yeah, every single time. And I like that she was the merc with a heart of gold.
Right.
And she, like, there's more plot, but, she's the one that breaks him out. And she's like, you know what? I'm here. Let's revolution this. Let's go.
I didn't sign up for this. And she's like, yeah. I love that they made her that character.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The only people that really struggled to me again, Sam Worthington, I feel like
All right, keep on.
I was gonna say the problem with him struggling is that he's sitting right next to Zoe Saldana, who is like
Just killing it.
killing it.
Mhm.
And so it highlights even more how he's not doing a terrible job. It's just I think if you gave that role to someone who was just a little bit better, they could have matched her in emotion and energy and
Yeah.
stuff. And he comes across kind of deadpan. The other one that was a little grating was Joel David Moore, who plays Norm Spellman,
Yeah.
who's the guy that
But he's supposed to be the nerd.
He's supposed
do
to
you
be
even know
grading.
about the mountains?
Yeah,
You know?
he's supposed to be grading.
Again, it's the only complaints I can throw at the performance is that a lot of the people are kind of one note and cartoonish.
Mhm.
And I don't necessarily know that that's a bad thing.
Well, they got to cover a lot of ground. They have a
Right.
long time to do it in, but they got to cover a lot of ground.
Yeah. I'll definitely say the I can't even remember his name, but the one that's going to be chief after her father passes
Sutsei?
away. Yeah.
Sute?
Sutsei?
Yeah.
Sutsei. He does a really good job too. I
Yes.
don't know his actor.
Laz Alonso, which I'm pretty sure is Mother's Milk from The Boys.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Which is crazy. I was like, wow, that's the guy?
But yeah, I haven't seen The Boys, so I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does a great job.
Yeah, he does a good job.
You definitely really can tell that he's obviously like the rival, and he's kind of the Vegeta of the
He is. Oh, man,
of
he
the story
is.
because
Yeah.
he's the bad, like he doesn't want, he's the reluctant friend,
He's
right?
the tribal obstacle, right? Like
Yeah.
you're not going to integrate with the tribe.
Yeah, and then
Right.
they become brothers by the end, and unfortunately he dies.
Yeah, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, I was really sad whenever that happened in the film because I'm like, no, I actually really liked your character.
Yeah.
Right.
So we've kind of run the bash train on Sam Worthington. I wanna extend one olive branch.
Yes, go ahead.
So the scene early on when he first takes over the Avatar, right? He's in the little hospital ward type thing. And he
Mhm.
goes against orders and he stands up. And this is a guy who's crippled, right?
Yeah.
And he's
Mhm.
standing on legs the first time. And he runs out and like he's all smiles running across the field and like digs his toes. That one piece
Mhm.
was like a perfect moment where his acting, the performance of what they were doing with the CGI and like the scenes that they chose where like
Yeah.
his feet are digging in, all this, that one piece, you're like, this is perfect because this is such a great example of someone who has not been able to walk for
Yeah.
some time
Yeah.
now, who knows what it should feel like, but has been denied it, is like, oh my God, I have this back to me.
Yeah.
And then everything after that, it just kind of collapses
But
because
that was
it
a very
is.
good emotional moment.
Right.
Yeah.
But for a character who is such a literal jarhead,
Yeah.
That piece felt great. Like that was like, hey, this was like the emotional connection to who he is and like what potentially motivates him, right? I mean, Colonel Quaritch is all over that. Like, hey, soldier, you get me the info. I send you back. Your legs are there.
Yeah.
Right? Your real legs, not these blue things.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like everything kind of slides off down from that. And it's kind of sad because I think there was that moment early on.
Yeah.
I don't know when these things, maybe that was like one of the last scenes they shot. I don't know. Movies
Oh, yeah. Who knows?
that work in
as far as,
mysterious ways. But
order of shooting.
yeah, but from a viewer's perspective, that
It's
moment
early.
was like, wow, like early on, like boom, we know who this guy is.
This has the weight.
Yeah, like this
dude.
dude's gonna have he's gonna have some arcs, some oh no, okay, never mind, no, we're just here.
Well, and I think too, he has moments throughout the film every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that a lot of the time there will be like a scene and like he'll say something and it's like good, and then it's punctuated by something right after that where he says a one-liner or a zinger or a woo or a he'll pronounce a word weird, and you're like, y'all didn't have like a second take of just that word. Y'all can't ADR just one word,
Whenever he was giving his war speech, from coming back, I thought that was really good. Whenever the other guy's basically translating for him, so he can basically say it and then translate
I think
it through.
the two of them working together there,
Yeah,
worked really well.
It's definitely one of those moments where you're like, yeah, I can really get behind
like
this.
fire me up here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so music.
Let's move on to score. Yeah. What'd you guys think?
I like this music. I think the soundtrack's quite good. James Horner is a great composer, and he has some very memorable themes.
I think especially with the visuals, when you take it all as a single piece, like the visuals of what's going on and then the sound of the score hitting, it really complements what's on screen. And I don't know how he did the score, if he had like some pieces written before or if he watched, like the edit and then scored to it, because some composers are different. But it feels like he scored to the
visuals.
cut.
Yeah, he was looking at the scenery and just like, I need this wonder, I need this awe.
Or he made the music and James Cameron built the scene for that.
Yeah.
Now there is a gripe that I have, but I know that there's a couple things about the music creation that Steven is likely going to bring up.
I pulled this up just so I have it ready.
Yeah.
So if you're curious about the whole process that went to make the music, you got to check out this video by Sideways on YouTube.
Okay.
It's titled "Why Avatar Has the Most Ironic Soundtrack of All Time."
Ironic.
It's incredibly ridiculous.
It is. I mean, it's a 20-minute video.
What's the cliff notes of the video?
So basically, they went out and strip mined as many indigenous and native people's music and sounds from every continent of America Earth as they could, and then smashed it together into a hodgepodge just to create this very corporate, generic sound.
It's very much like they grabbed the unobtainium.
They just did the movie. Yeah.
Well, so basically, those are not good cliff notes.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
wow. I'm going to offend Andrew.
Okay, so essentially what James Cameron wanted initially was to have this alien, basically something that no one had ever heard of before.
So a different sounding.
So completely different sound for the Na'vi and their music and everything that goes, like, that punctuates them.
Okay.
And this is what he wanted. So he kind of what Steven said, where he went through and went to all these indigenous tribes.
They went out to like experts on, like all kinds of anthropologists, just all kinds of people out there.
And they spent, I'll say years building this soundtrack. And
CGI wasn't ready. They had plenty of time to build music.
And basically by the time that they got a sound that they wanted, they brought it to the production company and they were like, this is what we want. And they were so scared that it would be too weird and too offbeat.
Too alien.
Yeah, too alien. They basically made James Cameron just make a normal soundtrack.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. Yeah, so they basically made this, went through years of development for this. And not anything that we'll ever hear.
Nothing.
Yeah, because they were so
my favorite part of
and no one's ever released like the hidden tapes or anything.
Yeah.
So in that video, you do get from I think from
bit.
behind the scenes some bits of the creation of it.
But it's not like a full track.
Yeah, it's not like this is the sound that should have played during this scene, something like that.
That's surprising to me because there's so many other stories of like, a Fox executive or whoever coming to James Cameron and being like, we need you to cut it down on length. And he's like, get out of here. And like kicks him out of his office. He's like, I'm James Cameron. I'm not bending on my vision. But then for the music, he's like, okay, cool.
Well, I think he put up a pretty heavy fight.
Yeah.
And eventually it was going to come down to we either don't release the film or we change the music.
Gotcha.
And I think, it's one of those things where at some point you have to take some level of concession.
Right.
And it's unfortunate because I really like those kind of devotion to trying to create something new and different.
Yeah.
And James Cameron is definitely that kind of guy to do it.
And I will say, they did still land on a good person for the job. He did a good job. It is interesting to listen to the soundtrack now after, a decade plus of MCU soundtracks and pick out and be like, well, yeah, that sounds, I've recognized this. I see this piece. I see where they found that.
Yeah.
So the one thing that really does irk me about this film, because what year did How to Train Your Dragon come out? 2010?
2010 or 2011.
Okay, so while he's looking that up.
Yeah.
So you have like the taming of the Banshee, right? And he gets his first flight.
Yeah.
The song that they use with that.
2010.
The song that they use with that doesn't have the How to Train Your Dragon feel.
It does not have the wonder of flight.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, cool, I did the thing. And I'm
it's
just
full
kind
of those
flying.
woohoos.
Yeah.
It
But
sure is.
it could have been so much more impactful of him flying for the first time under his own wings, essentially.
In the same manner that running for the first time.
Yeah.
Because again, with
that
the
could
way
have been one of those moments.
the aliens are supposed to work, you're connected to this creature. So you're feeling the flight, right? Like they could have really, which is again the same thing How to Train Your Dragon is. They're connected in a way.
Well,
I think
they could
what
have
you're
really
seeing
amped that up.
to a degree might just be that James Cameron does not have the same appreciation for like flight
that he does for water.
For like going underwater.
Yeah.
Well, because
that's a good point. I didn't think about that one.
For real, like because you think about like some other directors and like movies about aviation or Rocketeer even, like or How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
Like it's clear that someone in the process
just loves
flying.
Yeah.
And I don't know that he necessarily does, just because the way that scene specifically was handled. It was kind of more
just
about
feel kind of like he did it, cool.
Yeah, like it's more about him conquering the fear than it is the flight.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
And it was one of those things where because I remember watching it this time and I was like, oh man, here comes the How to Train Your Dragon moment. And it just didn't happen.
It just makes me want to go watch How to Train Your Dragon.
I just want to go watch How to Train Your Dragon.
It's like those memes where they play the Jurassic Park theme song, then it cuts to like the little toy.
or it's like the little chihuahua comes out the doors.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the only real thing that it was more of a disappointment, and maybe that's just because I know How to Train Your Dragon exists.
Like there are other things out there who've done it, and you'd be like, if this piece were just here as well,
it'd just be so much more of an emotional impact for it. But again, James Cameron probably doesn't like flight.
He really likes water.
He really likes water.
Really likes
he loves water, and that's the opposite of flight.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's move on to the plot.
Oh boy,
what do we say about the plot that we haven't already said?
We pretty much covered a lot of it.
We have.
I mean,
so what did you like about the plot? Let's start there. What are some of your favorite scenes?
Some of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the final fight with the Colonel.
Oh, yeah.
In like the mech suit.
In the mech suit. Well, so they start out on the big thing, and then he gets in the mech suit, jumps out as it blows out.
They go from the air to the ground.
Yeah.
James Cameron doesn't like flying; got to fight on the ground.
And
I hate flight. I like the water.
The final battle on the ground is quite visceral.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very well choreographed, blocked well, and the action really punctuates, and it really sets the tone of like how much not Sam Worthington, Stephen Lang.
I
keep getting them mixed up.
I don't know why.
Stephen Lang's character is just so devoted to he does not care.
The scene too, like that one especially, but the scene where he runs out of the thing without the mask when they're making the escape, and he just runs out there, starts shooting, and then he pulls out his like pistol, keeps shooting, and then he's just waiting for the dude to give him the mask. He's like just sitting there flexing, and his arms are huge, and he's like,
and then like he puts it on, it seals, and goes.
It's not even like a gasp.
Yeah. Because
it's like a mad breath.
He was in control the whole time, and I love that type of character.
Right. It's not like, is he mad or angry? Yeah, probably. But is it just fueling the steel wire muscle built body? Like,
Yeah.
because like he has like the big scar, and he talks about how, yeah, I got that first day I came here, and it's gonna stay on my face as a reminder the whole time of what the planet can do to you.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely say the thing that really detracts it from me now is it just how much of a white savior story it is,
Mm-hmm.
and it really hurts a lot of my enjoyment from it.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, come on, guys, like,
Yeah.
But
it could have been something else.
Is it a white savior story if they made him blue?
See, okay, so then that's actually a question for, I guess, entertainment and moving on into Avatar 2.
Right.
But that'll
We'll
happen
get there.
towards
We'll
the
get
end
there.
of the
Yeah,
end.
no.
I got some stuff I want to get into plot, but I want to hear Steven first. So what do you think of the plot?
I mean, at this point, it's classic story, right? Like we've had this story told to us multiple times
For like 40 years now.
Yeah, it's just in this case, this story is just beaten to death to get to double the length of Fern Gully. And
There is quite a lot packed in there just so you build up the relationship with
which can help it, but it also harms a lot of other, like, we could have had better. I mean, our scientists could have been more interesting characters.
Yeah, but
Sure.
I don't think the pacing really is hurt by that.
Interestingly enough, for being 2 hours and 40
It
minutes,
feels pretty.
it feels reasonably snappy,
Yeah,
which is, I mean, that's a big kudos, honestly. There are
Sure.
a lot of films out there where you're like, yeah, this is only like 2 hours. Like, man, this is taking forever.
It never feels too draggy, but I did have that moment where I paused it halfway through to go get something to drink, and I was like, hold on, I'm only halfway through? Because I just hit pause for the first time and assumed I was like 3/4 of the
Yeah.
way at least, I was like, I've still got another hour and a half? And I was like, wow.
It probably helps that the last 30 minutes are just boom, boom, just action,
yeah.
action.
yeah.
I did laugh. I sent you all a text too where it was like, oh, this is just Fast and the Furious because it's all about family and who has the biggest car.
I mean, Michelle Rodriguez is in
Yeah,
it.
she's in it.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause he just, like, the solution is just, well, go out and get the big flying thing instead of one of the normal flying things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jump on it from above because it won't expect that. What?
I mean,
It's not used to looking up.
well, but that's the
Yeah.
thing, though. That is more of a throwaway line of just him being a meathead.
He just absolutely rolled
Yeah.
the dice
yeah.
and got the snake eyes or the double six, whatever the luck was here. But it's just
rolled
kind of
7.
yeah, whatever. It's just kind of the play of, well, it's just, he showed up with a bigger drag. Well, I guess we have to listen to him, even though,
mean-
like, we just accused him of being a traitor,
Yeah.
and we literally like had strung him up on frames, and we were gonna
Yeah.
get rid of
I mean,
him.
they did enough earlier, I think, though, to set it up with, like, my granddad rode this dragon.
yeah.
He brought us
I
all
mean,
together.
They did give some impact to the concept of what it is.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And I'll give him credit. At least we already encountered the creature at that point.
Yeah,
right?
so you knew the danger that there was.
How
like,
much more powerful it is.
and this is kind of the biggest thing that any film that has any kind of action or danger in it, you need to have examples.
Yes. And
Yeah.
like, you can't be like, well, I'm going to go out and get the biggest, baddest thing. We need to have already seen it at that point. And
Yeah.
we do. So that's like, that is good. I mean, Lord knows, 2 hours and 40 minutes. If they didn't show us it
They
already.
had plenty of time, yeah.
Plenty of time to bring that thing in. I don't like, it's hard to really rip it apart because, like, the actual story itself
It's
is
fine.
just a classic. Like, we all know how this is going to play out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Hamlet or King Lear or whatever. It's just a classic story at this point.
Yeah, it's been done over and over again. Make it be lions. We all know it's Hamlet still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same kind of concept here. I don't know. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with it, right?
No, I think the things that are wrong to me from a plot perspective is more on the dialogue writing. It's
Now,
more
the
of, like-
dialogue is pretty brutal.
yeah, like
mostly for Sam.
the overall plot points of what happens is
Mostly
like,
he really did get nothing.
well, there's just too many woohoos here and there that I'm like, why? And there's
It's so funny you guys
unobtainium.
don't like that. It doesn't bother me
well,
at all.
it's either, the problem for Sam is it's either, bro, this is mocap suit, and you go, yeah, let's go, or sit in front of this webcam and talk to the camera. Like,
But he's a Marine.
give
This
him
is like what he
something.
does.
But I'm not saying
Yeah.
that that's what he does. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, for the chances of him, like,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
one
No,
of the
he
things like,
wasn't given a lot.
build
Yeah.
chemistry. With who?
Yeah.
You didn't give him anybody. Like,
And that's totally fair.
Natiri is it. And,
Yeah.
Zoe does a ton of work there to help
Mhm.
Yeah.
and actually makes it a believable relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like,
Because like
He-
I would
he
say the
was not given
chemistry
much.
between them is like okay. It's her.
It's reasonable.
It's like she sells
like
it. and makes
80%
it,
her.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So my plot stuff comes from the extended editions, which I did not watch this time, and did not realize that the past couple of times I've watched it, I was watching the extended.
You're just
edition.
committing
Okay.
to 3
Or
hours.
I guess I just didn't remember.
Yeah.
So for this one, I was like, I'm going to watch the theatrical cut.
Uh-huh.
You know, and there's a scene specifically they cut out of the extended, or that they didn't put in the
Yeah.
theatrical. They added to the extended, and that is when they have sex near the AWA tree.
Uh-huh.
The way they do it is they put their hair together.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so one of my notes was like, this is before I even started the movie. I was like, what are some random thoughts I have? And I was like, it's like Dances with Wolves, but 2 big blue cats have sex with their hair. And then we watched the movie, and I was like, where's the hair sex?
he's had hair sex with everything else but her.
He's had hair sex with everything.
Just
What's
out here,
happening?
Just out here sticking his ponytail in anything he can find.
Oh, don't say that.
Yeah. Well, the ramifications of that are just
Yeah,
dangerous. Way to go, James Cameron, you prevert. The other thing I had was when they're going back and forth with him, being in the Avatar body, and then he goes to sleep there and
Yeah.
he wakes up here. You're telling me that even though he's awake in his human body during the daytime for like hours, like he's eating in the mess hall,
Yeah.
he's talking to people.
doing a vlog.
There's not just a comatose dead like Jake Sully out here that they're like, what's going on? We went to
would he
sleep
wake
last
up?
night. They wait until the bulldozers coming in
Yeah.
for dramatic effect, which is fine. But the first thing I thought, I was like, wait a minute. We've seen him awake as a human during the day multiple times. Did he just say to them, I'm gonna be in my my corn silk freaking hammock. I'll be right back. And like for like 6 hours during the day, he's just like it's blue avatars, like eyes rolled back in its head,
There are
So-
a couple concepts
okay.
in it that
Okay.
Because then
so-
he's
so
got to
thank you.
sleep in real life too, or
Yeah.
in his own
Yeah.
body. And so
So-
there's like, how many hours a day is he not in the avatar body?
So thank you for bringing this all up, because
Yeah.
it does bring me back to maybe the biggest plot problem we have in
Yeah.
the whole movie, right? So this is $1 billion like his Avatar is $1 billion project.
Mhm.
It's so expensive that it is cheaper to ship a man out there on the ship to replace
interstellar space.
interstellar
Yes.
space than it is to grow a new one.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that when that thing goes to sleep out in the middle of the jungle, nowhere, you have no way to locate it?
Yeah.
But when he gets in the box, it just dials in, no problem. What's making it like? How do you connect to that?
Also, what kind of Wi-Fi do they have on
Right?
Pandora where you can like VR from your
Zero
tanning bed?
latency.
This tanning bed has this killer Wi-Fi that can just like blast him mentally to this avatar
that's the
on the
thing
other
is,
side of
it's
the
like
planet.
he gets in there and it's like, okay, let's connect you to your avatar. We have little dial-up sounds or whatever, and now we connect. And it's just like, so you can't do that with like nobody in there and be like, yeah, okay, latitude this, longitude that. Because like at the start, like one of the big
Yeah.
plot points is we lost him. He got lost. And
Yeah.
it's just like, he's connected to it right now. How is he lost?
Yeah, the magic of the Wi-Fi is a little bit of a stretch.
It's
Yeah.
totally fine if they're able to just be like, yeah, he's right here. At
Yeah.
any
Yeah,
time.
and it's like, but we can't extract him because of X, Y, or Z.
Or we just say like, yeah, like, well, he's in the no-go zone where it's hard to track things. Fine, but there's also like, what does he like connect and it's fuzzy?
Right.
Like, does he
I
like,
was
he's like,
thinking the same thing.
static? Yeah, like,
This time, that's one that popped in my head that I had never thought of.
Yeah.
I
That's
never
what I mean
thought
by
about
every
that.
time I watch it, I notice like one more thing. It's like he's in this, no instruments will work in here. I'm like, how is the tanning bed getting the Wi-Fi through these floating rocks straight to your avatar's body? Like,
genomes.
because like you totally could have done something with that where he goes to enter it and like, like the actual Na'vi are like, oh, the demons are forbidden this zone. They can't go into it. And when they try to go into it, it's because they can't connect.
yeah.
What
And then they
happened?
bring the pod into that area at the end.
Right.
And now it's just, we can connect because we're in here already.
Yeah.
What happens if he can't fall asleep as an avatar? Does he just never go back to his body?
Right. Like they don't really get into the
there are
science
some,
of that.
There are
It's-
some implications here that are a little questionable.
What if there's like an Avatar version of coffee and they all like, we drink this right before bed, and they all go to sleep and he's like, I can't sleep. I've got to get back to my body. How do I signal them that I want to come back? There's no off button on his temple or anything. Yeah. We're getting nitpicky on that. But my main thing was just when the bulldozers are coming in, that's the first time she's ever been like, why won't he wake up? And I'm like, we've seen this cat alive, awake, in the waking world as a
hanging
human
out, doing
for
whatever.
hours at a time. What is he doing? What's the Avatar body doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no answer for that.
It doesn't hold up to scrutiny, but it's fine.
It goes into like autopilot mode. It just follows whatever's in front of it. Dead-eyed. Just walks slowly.
Okay, yeah. So
let's get into entertainment.
Yeah.
Andrew, were you entertained?
I like this film.
Yeah, me too.
It's not one of those where like I like will like, oh yeah, let's watch a movie tonight. Let's watch Avatar.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, like, oh yeah, I remember that movie existed. Let's watch it.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I think I'm the same. Like, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
It's very long, so you got to be kind of like,
you gotta want to watch it.
Right. It's just really like, for me, I think I could very easily understand it if somebody was like, the movie's too long, or if you only watched it for the first time now, and you weren't that impressed, I could see that, because by today's standards, the CG still is good, but it's not going to blow your mind, like it would have if you watched it in 2009.
I still think I would argue you on that, just for the sheer sustained, like, because again, Marvel, it's either small scale, like we're just doing his suit, or it's short bursts. Like, those fights are not very long.
Right, yeah.
Whereas the flex of Avatar is, whether or not 60%, whatever metric they use to measure that,
it's a large amount of the movie.
Still, more than half of the movie is just CGI.
And it's beautiful.
And it's good looking.
Yeah.
It's a landscape that if I was there with my camera, I'd be like, I'm taking photographs of everything.
I guess the thing, maybe the way to word it is, if you watch this for the first time now, I could see someone being like, this was overhyped, because there's so much behind Avatar of like, it's the top grossing movie in the world, and all that kind of stuff, that if you watch it now, you're like, wait, this is it? It's like Fern Gully with blue cats. You know, like, I could see someone being a little bit disappointed, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it a little less each time, just because I notice random stuff that I didn't pick up on, upon the first viewing. But I think as far as like an adventure movie with some good action, it's great. Yeah.
Steven?
I feel like it's amazing to me, right? Because again, highest grossing movie of all time. And it has maybe the least cultural impact of any other movie that's in that list, right? When you get up in, when we start talking about multiple billions of dollars in a movie, or a multi-billion-dollar movie franchise, right? Like things like Avengers Endgame. And I'm not here to tell you that that's the most groundbreaking movie in history. No. But the emotional impact and engagement that it had, and that it had built to for so long, right?
Yeah.
Avatar is none of that. Mostly because basically its whole cultural relevance, all of its story, again, it's summed up in Fern Gully or Dance. Like, you can pick another way to experience it.
Well, I think the cultural significance of it is tied more to the technology.
It has an incredible technological significance, but for your average film goer, right, that is just goes right over your head. You don't know that the reason that mocap looks, as good as it does
is because of this film.
It's because Cameron got out there and just, dictated the crap out of, we're doing this whether or not you like it, kind of thing. I said the technology is good enough, so by God, it's going to be good enough. Get back in that room, break out your little fancy pencil, and get to work on the electronics and make that thing glow, So
it's a modern day Howard Hughes.
Yeah, a bit, yeah.
He's the CG Howard Hughes.
Like this, these rivets are great. It'd be a lot nicer if they were flush to the body.
So, kind of while we're talking about him, essentially being the CGI Howard Hughes. I think it's a good moment to talk about the new film. That is coming out, and it's very interesting.
Wait, hold on. I will say though, I was more entertained than I expected to be. I want to actually get my actual opinion in there, because again, that was my initial impression. Is always so much money. But what kind of impact has the movie had? Almost none. But I was much more entertained than I expected to be. Go ahead.
So Avatar 2
Yeah.
are just Avatar: The Way of Water.
The Way of Water.
The Way of Water. So he actually, one of the reasons why it took so long for this film to come to fruition is he had to develop mocap technology to film underwater.
Oh
So
my
so
goodness.
once again, he was just in here like we are pushing the envelope.
we are going to make this happen because I mean, clearly he has a very large fetish with water. He loves.
Sure.
He is one of the only people to have been to the bottom of the ocean.
He's had as much water above him as he can possibly have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then clearly he's done Abyss. He did Titanic. He
Yeah.
loves water.
Yeah.
And it was a natural progression for him to come to Avatar, which is his baby, and he's going to bring it to the water. And we've seen the trailer, right?
Mhm.
Had, I guess, 12 years of hype. I guess.
Kind of.
12 years of irrelevance and a year of hype.
I'm kind of like taking, technically Ryan is producing the show here, but I'm just.
Doesn't matter.
I kind of
Go
just
for it.
Took over.
You're a like closet Avatar genius over here. Go for it.
So
man.
Rain Man of Avatar.
Yeah, so I'm curious to hear y'all's thoughts on how you think it's going to go. Because let's take a snapshot, right?
Yeah.
So we have 2009, which was there was no MCU. The only other like major big film that had just come out was Dark Knight, 2008, and Iron Man was also very big. But this was before like any no Endgame, nothing like that. This was like the first masterpiece CGI film that we have seen. We have now had 13 years
of just movies doing
just
incredible
CGI,
stuff.
boom, 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 boom. We have streaming now. We had a pandemic. We have all these other factors that are coming into going into this film.
Yeah.
And it's theater only, no streaming.
Yeah.
And he needs $1 billion in revenue from the box office to make it even remotely profitable.
Right. Worldwide.
Where
Yeah.
do we go from here?
So I think the movie is going to hit that. I think it is going to be way more profitable than we expect it to be. Like, I'm pretty bullish on it because I think you cannot underestimate the foreign markets. And I think people across the world, again, because the movie can be enjoyed with the sound off, essentially, or with no subtitles, not understanding what anybody's saying. I think that goes a long way with a lot of people, not even foreign audiences. Like, there are a lot of people that probably do not go to see a lot of movies that will try to go see this because they went to see the first one.
And it was a cultural phenomenon back then.
Either because it was such a big event or even just to watch it out of irony, right? Like, I cannot believe they came out with another one. I want to see how much this can fail or whatever, right?
I think there's two very different things we need to look at as far as like a measuring stick for success here. One, obviously, is the money. I think this thing's going to make a lot of money. I don't know if it will be as profitable as the first one.
Yeah.
It's who can even say? There's so many
It's not
factors,
right? The budget is already in the 400 million realm.
Right. Yeah.
I think Cameron's already on record saying this has to be one of the highest grossing films of all time
or else
to be a profitable endeavor, which we're already in like rarefied air of return on investment, right? I mean, this is
like 400 million is a lot of money.
But I think there's a lot of people that will return to the theater for this movie that maybe haven't because of the pandemic and stuff.
I was going to say, there is some risk there, right? Because the box office has been kind of anemic.
Yeah.
Ignoring basically Top Gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like most things, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man was another one. But beyond those two, like everything else has been like at best 180, 150 million.
Yeah, it's been nowhere near as wild.
There's a lot of headwinds in kind of your post-pandemic box office that, I mean, if this comes out and just smashes and overcomes all that, then wow, like huge kudos to Jim, right?
Jimmy Cameron.
Can I call him Jim? Can I call you Jim?
Don't you dare. He puts you underwater.
So I remember, like whenever they announced this and, obviously we have the podcast and everything like that, I was like, well, we're going to have to review it.
Yeah, we have
to. There's no way we're not.
Yeah.
And going into, before I rewatched the first Avatar, I was very lukewarm on it. I was like, I don't think we need this. I think this is probably going to be a failure.
Right.
And, mostly just because I think that the environment has changed so much.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That I worry that I don't really worry. I mean, he's a multi-million-dollar director. He's
He'll
not
be
gonna,
fine.
He's
he'll
going to be fine. Yeah.
But it's one of those things where, like, in your mind, like, you want him to succeed. I want to be proven wrong whenever I go to these films, and I'm like, I'm not really that good. I want to be wowed. I want to come out of the film and be like, that was incredible.
Yeah,
'Cause,
yeah.
like, we're part of a review podcast. I want to review good things.
Yeah, we don't like want things to be
Yeah,
bad.
like, oh, I have to go see another terrible movie again.
Yeah.
So after watching the normal Avatar, first one,
The normal one, not the one with the hair sex. Like
after watching this one,
Or like The Last Airbender, because it's also an Avatar.
I'm actually a lot more positive on what it's going to be going into it.
Okay,
And
turned you around, huh?
Yeah, I'm still not super hot on it from what it looks like to be Free Willy.
Sure,
But hey, you've already done Pocahontas just fine. Let's see how this one goes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not fired up for 3 hours and 20 minutes of screen time.
Hey, I mean,
Let me tell you.
hey, Return of the King was a phenomenal film.
It was.
I will gladly rewatch that at
If-
any point in time.
If Way of the Water,
Way of Water.
golly. If
The Way of Water.
If The Way of Water is a Return of the King level film, then huge, massive props. And I'll say one thing from the trailer, because the actual storyline from the trailer, I'm not really sure where we're going with this.
Yeah.
I have maybe an inkling, and humans appear to be back and all this other. I'll give him one huge kudos from that.
Mhm.
The guy likes water, and he wants you to be able to see what's going on when you're underwater. And I appreciate that, for the water not just being like, oh, we're
Like
under
dark
the sea.
and murky.
This is time to be realistic. It's dark down here.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably cold.
I mean, just from the footage that I've seen from the trailer, it looks
It
beautiful.
looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like the thing to me that I wrestle with is, like I've said earlier, I like it less every time I see the first one.
Yeah.
So my hype level for the second one went down just a
little bit.
skosh.
Smidge.
Yeah.
Not a lot. I was already kind of lukewarm on it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
My fear is it's like almost too little too late. And I want to be
It's
proven
It's
wrong.
been a really, that is one thing that does kind of concern me. It's been
Yeah.
13 years.
It's been 13 years.
If
I
there's
feel
been
like
a 4-year gap,
yeah,
sure.
the time to strike with Avatar 2 would have been 4 years later,
Oh,
2003
We're
2013.
Disney's opening the theme park, and we're busting out Avatar
Yeah.
too. Like, boom, man, metal's hot.
Because I feel like what I've seen around the internet, and again, this is not an indication of like the average moviegoer, obviously,
Yeah.
but I've seen more and more think pieces and more articles written about how, hey, Avatar's not as good as we remember type stuff
Yeah.
than I have, hey, let's get hyped for Avatar 2.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I think it's because, again,
It wasn't like the press junket that Top Gun Maverick had.
no,
Not at all.
Yeah, not like that. And since 2009, things have definitely changed. And like, again, the white savior trope is now under a lot more scrutiny
Yeah.
than it was in
we
2009.
have a great advantage there in that we never see Jake Sully as a white man. As far as we know, like that
Right.
body's gone. So
Yeah.
he's just a blue
Yeah.
dude.
He's just a blue guy now.
And we can have blue saviors. That's not
Yeah.
against the rules.
Yeah.
But I just think culturally, there's a lot of people I think that
Mhm.
have slowly soured on Avatar over the years.
Yeah.
Because again, kind of like me, they've seen like the little, mistakes here and there, and the acting
Mhm.
that they didn't catch the first time because they were just blown away
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
how awesome
Yeah.
it looked. So I don't know going into this one what hype levels are for everybody. I still think it's going to make a ton of money,
Yeah.
but whether or not it'll be good,
A successful film.
yeah, is a whole nother ball game if it's critically well received or not.
Yeah.
Now, early reviews
Have been quite good.
glowing.
They have been, yeah.
I have concerns, though, because they all seem to use the same phrase of "don't bet against Cameron." And I'm
Yeah,
like, man,
that
are we
feels
paying for
paid.
this line?
That feels weird that like
I don't like it. I don't like it.
But again, I want to go into this film,
Yeah.
be proven wrong,
Mhm.
and be wowed by how I was when I watched the first one.
Yeah.
And I hope that's what happens because one, I don't want to spend money on something that I don't enjoy, but two, I want to enjoy it. Like I want to go in there and come out and be like, hey, you really need to go see this movie.
Yeah.
This was a banger.
It's
Yeah.
gorgeous. Give me something.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think that's as good as place as any to wrap it up right here.
Yeah.
Sure
So
is.
thanks for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard and you would like to support us, we have a Patreon. And for $1, just $1 a month, you can get access to all of our bonus episodes, everything we've already uploaded, plus one bonus episode a month at least. Sometimes we upload more. And these bonus episodes are like a different format. They're a little more loose. We get a little crazy.
We have ranking lists.
Yeah.
We have
They're called tier lists.
Tier lists, whatever.
We
whatever you wanna
argue
call
about
it.
fast food.
Recommendations.
We got some scary movie recommendations, some anime starter recommendations. We got a little bit of everything over there.
Yeah, and we come out with one every month.
And we would really appreciate that little bit of pocket change. Just helps us pay those hosting fees, keep the lights on around here.
Yeah.
But if you can't afford that and you want to just help us reach more people, we would love a like, a share, comment. Hit us up on those socials.
Join our Discord. Come and hang out.
Give us a review
Give us a
wherever
review.
you listen to podcasts.
And just tell your friends. Tell
Maybe
somebody
your cat
about the
or dog,
podcast.
but
Tell your
mostly
dad.
your friends.
Tell your mom. Tell that weird uncle.
Grandmom.
You're about to see everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Around Christmas,
holidays
guess what?
are around, yeah.
What's a better gift than a weird podcast for your Aunt Linda to listen to, okay? Tell her about us. All right, until next time, I'm Ryan.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Steven.
And as always, every spoiler was intended. I'm just now realizing the ramifications of the blue milk.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Holy
I was so focused on the next thing I was about to read that now it's all coming back. My God.
How do you think blenders work?